Why don't you pull up a chair and lean in? Now, let me tell you a little something about the Glen. Watkins Glen. A small town with a mighty roar. It all started back in '48, the day they stopped the trains. Dirt, gravel, cement, and an army of American pride. You know, that was the first race after World War II? Well, now you know. Small but mighty. Yes, we are. How small? Well, Watkins Glen is actually a village. And the local track? Well, it's as big as the whole area. And massive, too.
Jeff Bodine has crashed hard. Neither one of these guys are happy here.
We have got cars everywhere.
Big wreck behind you.
Carnage down here at the end of pit road.
I love road racing. It's crazy.
Some learn the Glen is an especially proud small town. Once they get a taste of it, they don't want to let it go.
Tony Stewart winner at Watkins Glen.
But here comes that roar again. Rumbling off the plains down to the lake, throughout the entire village. Yeah, someone's going to lead the pack. Someone's going to make their own small town proud. Someone's going to take the Glen. Someone.
From humble beginnings to this, the spectacular sight that is Watkins Glen International on a beautiful Sunday in August, where again thousands of race fans have come just as they have since 1956 to watch great drivers take on one of the world's great road courses. Today, for the 25th time in the modern era, it's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series competing on these speedy straights and twisting turns. 43 drivers all hoping to be the one to take home the trophy back to their hometown. If the more famous oval tracks have personality, the Brickyard, the Tricky Triangle, the Lady in Black, then this place is loaded with character, and it changes from turn to turn to turn. Here's Mike Massaro.
The challenges drivers face here at Watkins Glen are immediate. Turn number one, a very sharp 90-degree right-handed turn heading downhill. Here, drivers are heavy on the brakes, down through the gears as they decelerate from speeds beyond 100 miles per hour down to speeds close to 50 miles per hour. The key here, be smooth and be careful not to wheel hop. If you do, it could be a very long day. Turn number one, extremely unforgiving.
And turn one sets drivers up for one of the most critical parts of the track, the S's. If a car is handling well, a driver will be completely flat, getting optimum speed to set them up for the longest and the fastest section of the track. It is here a driver can make up time or they can lose time if not precise.
And that leads you to the bus stop, which is often referred to as the inner loop. It's a quick right, left, right that's attached to the inside of a high-speed straightaway. You have to brake hard on entry to get into that turn sequence, and if you overcharge that initial entry, you'll push the nose of the car, ultimately ruining your final exit. The best drivers can gain some time here, but you can definitely lose time at the bus stop. We saw a couple off-road excursions and spins here in the nationwide race yesterday. It's one of those spots that can turn a good day into a bad day in a hurry.
Finally, these traditionally counterclockwise racers take on one of the few left-handers at Watkins Glen. They carry a ton of speed coming out of the carousel. They take it down and have to hit their turn-in exact, or they can expect big trouble. Then they're onto a rhythm section, the final right-hander, that becomes either just another lap or a trip to victory lane.
The challenge that is Watkins Glen International today for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And ESPN welcomes you to NASCAR Countdown for today's race. Our ESPN pit studio perfectly located behind the pit lane overlooking the start-finish line. And with victory lane right next door, we welcome you inside. Alan Bestrick along with two-time Watkins Glen winning driver Rusty Wallace. And now three-time Watkins Glen winning team owner Big Brad Daugherty. As a driver, as an athlete, when you come to a place with a lot of history, Do you pay attention to the history, or is it all about the present?
No, I pay a lot of attention to the history. You come to a track like Watkins Glen, where it had a lot of Formula One people that drove this track, IndyCar guys, famous names, stuff like that. I think of the Daytona 500. I pay a lot of attention to history there, a lot of attention to history at Indianapolis and stuff like that. I don't do it at all the racetrack, but the ones I just mentioned, I do pay a lot of attention to. Respect.
That's exactly right. And in any sport, when you come into a venue that has such a storied past, a place like Watkins Glen that just is not only known nationally but internationally, yeah, there's a little bit of extra pressure. You feel that old throat getting a little bit tighter. Everything becomes bigger, larger, brighter. The colors are more vivid. So, yeah, it creates an air of responsibility as a performer or as an athlete to do and give your very best, especially when they load the fans in here.
Yeah, and it looks like a great day to be at a race here in Watkins Glen. The weather's just perfect today. Let's talk about, you heard our reporters describe the course and the challenges of the different sections of the course for a driver, for a team. What are the challenges of racing at Watkins Glen?
Well, Alan, number one, they're doing things out there they normally don't do. They normally don't turn left and right on these oval racetracks, but here they do. And there's a lot of areas that make mistakes. The mistakes are probably the number one thing they can mess up throughout the race. I mean, whether you shift wrong, you brake wrong, you wheel hop, many, many things can go wrong right here at Watkins Glen, but above all, just making a pile of mistakes. There's a lot of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, when you go 1 through 43, the message is pretty clear on one thing that has to happen throughout the day in order to have a successful day. Not necessarily getting the victory lane, but surviving. You have to keep your race car in condition enough to be able to advance each lap. You are beating and banging on this race car all day long, and you got to stay on the racetrack, just like Rusty said. You got to survive throughout the day to give yourself a shot.
A lot more places to make mistakes, a lot more places to get into trouble on a road course.
Sir.
That is for sure. Now, qualifying was held midday Saturday, and the fastest time was set by Carl Edwards. Edwards really carried some speed up the hill in the S's to edge the Ganassi guys, Jamie McMurray and Juan Pablo Montoya, by 3.5 tenths of a second for the Coors Light Pole Award. Now can he get his first win of the season today, Mike Massaro?
Thank you, Alan. And for the first time since 2008, Carl Edwards is on the pole. Starting out front today, what will the approach be?
It was a great lap for our Aflac Fusion, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself up there in the front. The best I've qualified here before on speed is, I think, 26th or something. So I made sure to make it to the driver's meeting because Bob would kill me if I messed this up. So for us, it's to stay out front, you know, to get comfortable with a pace. Hopefully we're very competitive with the leaders, and it'll be a different day for me if we can do that. I'm so used to starting in the back and having to work strategy and drive my heart out. And then once you get up there to the front, you know, you only get to race those guys for a few minutes at the end of the race. So it'll be nice to be able to race with them all day. Hopefully we can capitalize on the momentum we've had the last few weeks, and be huge to get a win here.
And talking about momentum, with Greg Biffle's win a week ago, your teammate, it seems like Roush Fenway has turned the corner. How would you assess the performance of this entire organization right now going into today's race?
I used to be the guy that would, I mean, I said publicly I don't believe in momentum. I don't think any of that stuff's true, but the last few weeks have kind of proven me wrong. You know, we've run very well. Greg Biffle's win was huge for Ford and for Roush, and you know, and then we ran that lap in qualifying, and we're fast in race trim, and it just feels good to be a part of this organization right now. And I'm proud of all the guys for I mean, keeping their heads up and working hard. It's so easy in this sport to get run down when things aren't going well, and it looks like we may have weathered the worst of it. So I hope that's the case.
And Alan, they're looking to keep their momentum going, looking for his first career road course win in the Cup Series, that is.
All right, Michael, thank you. And coming up next, the terrible crash suffered by Elliott Sadler last Sunday at Pocono, his return to the track, the technology that kept him safe, and changes to this track to keep the drivers safer. And later, part 2 of Marty Smith's exclusive interview with 4-time champion and 4-time Watkins Glen winner, Jeff Gordon. Why he's still competing for wins and championships instead of being retired as he originally planned. When NASCAR Countdown continues from the Glen. Glen International, where the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series goes racing for a 25th time in the modern era today. Before we talk more about this race, let's look back at last Sunday's race at Pocono that included the scariest crash of the season. This track is big, and it's going to take a couple minutes to run the jet dryers around there.
We're going to go racing, it looks like, so you got to get prepared, get ready to go.
The 21st race of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is green. Let's go 3 wide. Harvick's the meat in this sandwich. Look out. McMurray almost slides to the wall. Your race leader is Jimmy Johnson.
But here comes Jeff.
This is getting good right now.
Seven still in line, peeking on you. Trying to get outside you now. Outside. Clear, clear.
Oh, look out. Trouble. Kurt's into the wall.
Like a little bump drafting going on right there.
Oh, man. Further back, Elliott Sadler. And look at the engine is out of this thing.
I'm okay. I'm a little sore. Definitely the hardest hit I've ever had in a race car. It's a tough day.
Close for Jack, guys. Yeah, I hope Jack's watching.
Greg Biffle is going to bring it home and give Jack Roush his 4th win here at Pocono.
No disrespect to that winning 16 team, but the most lasting images from the Pocono race last week were provided by this man, Elliott Sadler. Well, a week later, how are you feeling?
Actually, I feel really good. I was a little sore Monday and Tuesday, but, went and got my therapy, went and saw my chiropractor, got all straightened up. And honestly, Dr. Jerry Punch called me Monday morning, and we had a long, lengthy conversation. And he let me know how to ice it, the best way to take care of it, keep it stretched, what to take for swelling and things like that. So, actually, I've had a really good week. Soreness went away Wednesday night. I've had a lot of fun in the car, no pains, no issues this weekend in the car, and just glad to be here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, there's actually been a lot of good news that have come from this incident, and for more on that, let's go to Tim Brewer in the NASCAR Craftsman Tech Garage.
Thanks, Vince. That was a very, very violent crash, and you have to commend NASCAR for their safety procedures. But still yet, the Hans device inside the race car that's set behind Elliott's neck, it kept the head from coming forward. That's a great device. But what it sets right underneath the shoulder harnesses right here that keeps the body from coming forward. Now this seat, it came from Hendrick Motorsports. It's a composite seat, but the insert in here, it actually fits the shape of the body. Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, they even sell it. Elliott Sadler had one of these seats in the car, and that kept him intact inside the race car, and that saved him and let him walk away from the crash.
Tim, thank you for the demonstration. Safety changes to the Pocono track are planned. Safety changes here at Watkins Glen have been made after a nasty wreck during last year's Sprint Cup Series race. Sam Hornish Jr. in the 77 car is forced off the track, exiting turn 5, and watch out what happens here.
Oh! Wow, look at Jeff Gordon crash there along with Jeff Burt. Hard legs. Hard.
Look at that. The whole entire track's blocked. Nobody can get through. They just keep piling into it.
As a result of that, safety changes have been made in the runoff area of the track.
Oh, yeah, they've really helped this area, Alan. They've elevated it. They took all the grass away. They've paved it. So now if a driver does get off course a little bit there, he can get back on course, no harm, no foul. And you can see that's a big improvement from what they had last time.
Also changes made at the inner loop or bus stop.
Yeah, this is really interesting because you come into that bus stop running almost 165, 70 miles an hour, and as you look at it now, with the gravel gone and all that asphalt, it looks bigger. So we're going to see some guys overdrive here. You can't make a mistake. You got to get in there, get through there. But if you do get off, you got a chance to get back on without getting stuck and wasting a lot of time.
And in the final 2 turns of the course, more safety-related changes. The gravel trap that used to extend from the edge of the racetrack all the way to the retaining wall has mostly been replaced by pavement, a paved runoff area, but still the gravel trap for safety if a driver runs through all that out of brakes or something. Then at the exit of the next corner, the safer barrier added there in case a car gets forced off. So changes made in the name of safety here at Watkins Glen over the past year. Couple things to discuss. Elliott Sadler's wreck. Rusty, you've been in some nasty wrecks in your career. What's it like for him the week after the wreck, and what's it like getting back in the race car?
Well, I will tell you, he'll definitely think about it for a long time. It probably bothers him just a little bit, but Alan, the wrecks are totally different. I mean, I've had wrecks before where I know I'm sliding, I feel the car go up in the air, and I'm like, okay, I better hunker down and brace, and that thing flips end over end 10 or 15 times, and you get out mad. But then you have wrecks like Elliott had, where he got completely blindsided. He had no idea this was coming, and wham, it almost knocks your lights out. And when you get out of a situation like that, that's the one that bothers you. You think about it. It happened to me at Talladega. Talladega, big crash, and I kept thinking, man, this is the second time this year. Does that mean every time these cars get sideways, they're going to go end over end and flip? I talked to NASCAR about it. I even had a driver's meeting at Daytona about it, voicing my concerns. I had to act and do something to get it out of my mind. But it will linger with you if you have something like that.
changes that have been made to the track. You think they'll affect the racing some today?
Oh, I really do. I think we could even see more cautions. I know everyone's saying because of these new areas, you won't have as many cautions. I think guys are going to be more aggressive because they're going to see these areas that they can take advantage of and utilize to put their cars in positions where before they would run off into the gravel traps and those type of things. Now you can get away with it a little bit, so I can see some super aggressive racing, which is going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Now, as we've seen here at Watkins Glen the last couple of years, the Hornish crash, one example, track blocking wrecks. Boy, we had a doozy in the Nationwide Series race yesterday. Exiting turn 1, Jason Leffler gets forced over the rumble strips when he tries to come back on the track. There's traffic there. It winds up with a 10-car pileup.
My goodness, that was an incredible wreck. They went 3 wide, nowhere to go, and it just clogged up the lane there. It was just like a funnel. All these race cars tore up. Kevin Harvick here is a smart guy, though. He pulls to the inside and waits. 2 cars come behind him and slam into Tony Raines there and tore up a lot of good equipment.
You know what the problem is, though, Brad? We might see that again today.
Yeah,
I mean, the track's the same. You get really aggressive down into turn 1. If you wheel hop or slide off course, you're trying to get back on the course, and you come right into oncoming traffic. And so I won't be surprised if we see it again. Maybe not that extent. 10 cars, that was pretty strong.
Fortunately, all the drivers okay in that big accident. As always at a road course, some different faces in different places. One of those is Boris Said driving the Red Bull 83 today, Jamie.
Always good to have the Said head and his son, Boris Jr., here with him. Boris, you've been an Ironman this weekend. Yesterday was Nationwide, last night Grand Am, today Cup, and you're driving for Red Bull for the first time. How competitive do you expect to be? I know there's a lot of differences between the 3 cars.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of unanswered questions, really. I mean, I only drove this car for the first time Friday, and so I don't really know how it's going to be in a long run. I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, these Red Bull guys, it's a top-notch team. I've never worked with a team that good before, and all the resources they have. And, you know, they've given me everything I need, so really it comes down to me not going out and making any mistakes. Hopefully I can stay on the road, be there at the end. You know, Jimmy Elledge, I'm sure he's going to call a great race, and, you know, hopefully this Red Bull will give me wings, and I can get it up to the front.
It's going to be a lot of fun watching you. He'll roll off 13th today, Alan.
All right, Jamie, thanks. A look at now some of the other different faces in different places today. A quartet of people, including Boris, who we just talked to, getting the drive in the Red Bull 83 car. P.J. Jones is driving a second Robbie Gordon Motorsports car today. The 07 machine will line up in 39th. Patrick Carpentier got a late call to drive the 26 car. He qualified well in 17th. And Andy Lally's aboard TRG 71 car. He drives for them in the Grand Am Series. He starts 33rd in the Sprint Cup today at the Glen. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is getting set to go racing in just a little while. 43 drivers, 90 laps around this 7 turns plus a bus stop course. Jeff Gordon will go down as one of the best ever in NASCAR history, yet he continues to ride a long dry spell. Last Sunday at Pocono, he was the leader until the final pit stops when his team went for 4 tires and they got shuffled back by strategy. Instead of winning, Gordon finished in 6th position. Jeff Gordon turned 39 on Wednesday of this week, and as he awaits the birth of his second child, we bring you part 2 of NASCAR Now lead reporter Marty Smith's visit with the 4-time champion.
What impact has fatherhood had on your life?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's had a huge impact. Does that change who I am and how I go about my job, you know, when I'm in the race car? It's made me really have to work hard at how I schedule my time, because racing is very important to me and I want to be good at it.
Is it the most important thing?
It's not the most important, but it's never been the most important thing to me. No. You know, when I wasn't married and didn't have a child, you know, was racing my top priority? Yes, but I think there's some negatives that come along with that too.
Like?
I think that you can be too involved. I think as a race car driver, I think all of us have a role to play. But when we start thinking that we're the team owner, the crew chief, the engineer, I think that's when we stop being as good a driver as we can be.
It's Gordon across in first.
The NASCAR Cup Championship is his.
I don't think we've ever had all the pieces put together since Ray left.
Look at everything. He is, look at it, man.
You know, he left at a time when we were struggling a little bit, weren't doing quite as well. I mean, we were struggling. I think we won 7 races that year.
Tough life, Jeff.
Finished 4th in the point. We thought, man, the world's coming to an end. We might as well just throw this whole thing out the window. And, you know, Ray got the opportunity from Dodge. I looked at it as an opportunity for me as well, you know, to branch out there. I was getting criticized a lot on, you know, well, it's all Ray and Hendrick. It's, you know, it's not Jeff. I wanted to see if I could do it, you know, with another crew chief and with new members of the team.
That must drive you crazy, though, to have had it since you sat in that car, basically had it.
Yeah, it's frustrating because, you know, when you've been a part of success, it's tough to not continue to have that success. And what keeps me going and what keeps me smiling is that I look back on my career, it's been amazing. I mean, I've done more than I ever thought that I'd ever do. And I'm proud of all those moments, and my place in the sport and is something that you'll never be able to take away.
Does the chase piss you off? Because you can make
a little.
numbers.
The thing that upsets me about the chase is that it's the same 10 tracks every single year. For my way of driving and the style that I have and the old championship being, you know, really good for me as a driver and our team, you know, I felt like if we went out there and we didn't have a winning car that day, I was really good at bringing that car home 5th or 8th, or, you know, you just had to fight till the last lap on every race and bring the car home in one piece and get your share of wins. And I can say all day long, you know, well, the chase, you know, has these 10 tracks that they're not my best 10 tracks. We still got to be, there's still, you know, a total of 8 races that we need to be winning at in some of those races, and we haven't been winning.
How long are you going to do this?
Drive?
How long are you going to drive?
I thought I was retiring this year. 5 years ago, I thought I was retiring today. That's just how life changes, how things change. I always say that as long as somebody like Rick Hendrick wants to put me in the car, as long as, you know, I'm competitive, and then the health issue, you know, my back's feeling a lot better. I'm working out, and so I'm feeling so much better about myself physically. And shoot, with another baby on the way, man, I've got some bills to pay.
That is fun. Perhaps this Watkins Glen track is a small sample of where things have been over Jeff Gordon's career. In the first 9 races here, he won 4 times and had 7 top 10 finishes. But in the last 8 Glen events, there has been only 1 top 10 run. Gordon hopes for another today. One of the comments here that sparked my interest was Jeff talking about being too involved as a driver. How do you gauge how involved to be with your team?
Well, I think all drivers are different. There's no doubt about that. But Jeff and I actually had a conversation about that one time. He criticized me. I criticized him for not being involved enough. He come back and said, Rusty, if you weren't so involved, I think you would have won more races. Well, you know what? I totally disagree. I respect him as a driver, but I found every time I backed off and didn't pay attention as much as I possibly could to at least the car and the operation, I just flat ran slower. So I guess I do it different, but, you know, I can't back off. Once I backed off, everything got messed up.
As far as the Pocono race last Sunday, they ran well, they had a chance to win, but they didn't win. Positive or negative?
I think it's a negative. I mean, it's kind of been their MO the entire season. They have run really well at times, put themselves in position halfway through, 3/4 of the way through the race, and they get to the end, and they just have not been able to get themselves over the hump. Now, obviously, Rick Hendrick has a lot of confidence in Steve Letarte. He re-signed him to a new deal. He's going to give him more years with Jeff Gordon. I do believe once this team wins one race, we will see them win multiple races. They are good enough. They just had a lot of bad luck, some indecision, and some things just not go their way. That's got them a lot of second-place finishes.
A lot of troubles getting over the hump. Jeff Gordon starts 16th today. Now, Gordon is among the leaders in NASCAR wins at this Watkins Glen track, and he's got some pretty good company. Gordon with 4 wins, just ahead of Mark Martin with 3, and just behind Tony Stewart. The Stewart's not only won 5 Watkins Glen races, but he's won 5 of the last 8, and he starts 6th today, Dave.
And when you talk about the history of this track, Alan, it's amazing to think that that's all-time winners here in the 27 races in the Sprint Cup, 5 for Tony. But the W column empty so far this year. Is this the place where you change that for the 14 car?
I feel like this is the best shot we've had all year. I mean, we were really good in practice. I felt like I was really happy with my balance after happy hour, and you know, obviously Juan's really good, and Marcos is really good, but and there might be a couple other guys that in race trim or will stay on pace pretty well. But I feel like it's the best chance for our Old Spice Office Depot Chevy, and proud of Darian and these guys, everybody at Hendrick Engine Shop and Chassis Shop, and everybody at Stewart Haas Racing. I'm really proud of our guys back in Kannapolis. They've done an awesome job of you know, continuing to pick up the pace and making our cars better every week.
Now, you and I talked yesterday, and you said you were okay from that little tumble at the charity race Friday night, but we always get concerned when we see that. What happened there?
Actually, Juan and I were just talking about, because Juan actually was there standing on top of our truck watching. We went into turn one, and a guy had problems with his steering, and he was trying to get off the track, and when his steering broke, it turned him hard left and brought him back on the track. And you're running so fast in a wing sprint car there. By the time I saw him, there was no way that I could get away from it or get away from him. So we just hit him with the right rear, and it's sky ground, sky ground, sky ground, sky ground, and sky ground, I think. And then finally it landed on its lid. So it's nice having that big wing on top, because it cushions the blow a lot. And we're fine. I mean, I'd go back and do it again tomorrow, so no concerns about it. It was fun. We ran 3 races this week with that car, so we've had a good time.
All right, well, here's to looking out the front windshield with everybody else behind you today. Just blue sky ahead. Mike Massaro.
And one team that looks particularly strong today is the Ganassi bunch. Juan Pablo Montoya qualifying 3rd, and this guy, Jamie McMurray, qualifying 2nd. With you guys qualifying so strong, I'd imagine you've had some conversations. What have you talked about in terms of the way you plan to attack the race today?
Well, honestly, we haven't talked that much. We had our team meeting this morning, and really you just discuss kind of your strategy for the crew chiefs more than anything of when we'll pit, and just how aggressive we're going to be at the beginning. So we'll just have to wait and see. Our McDonald's Chevrolet is really good. I know that you know, Marcus is certainly probably going to be the class of the field. Tony Stewart, Juan. So we just find a good place to ride here at the beginning of this, and brakes always seem to go away. Last 25, 30 laps. So try to conserve our brakes at the beginning, and starting up front is going to be good, but you got to have good pit strategy. So Bono does a really good job at that, so I'm not worried about it.
Well, Alan, I don't think it's much of a stretch to call this guy at least a dark horse. After all, his background is in go-kart racing. Certainly accustomed to going left and right.
Jamie McMurray, Michael, thank you. Starting on the front row today. Still to come, Marcus Ambrose, whose attempts to win one of these Sprint Cup races have been turned aside in sometimes cruel ways. Could today be the day? Richard Childress, the 6-time champion team owner who has his team back in title contention again and is always lurking somewhere nearby while they compete. That and more from the grid when NASCAR Countdown continues from the Glen. Major League Baseball tonight, it's the Red Sox and Yankees on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Josh Beckett against A.J. Burnett. Not sure if A-Rod's in the lineup or not. That's at 8 Eastern on ESPN tonight. Then on Monday Night Baseball at 7 Eastern, Albert Pujols and the Cardinals against Joey Votto and the Reds. Both games also available on ESPN3.com. The baseball is in the Bronx tonight. The racing's upstate New York this afternoon in Watkins Glen, where the green flag waves on this historic road course in 43 minutes. This is the second of 2 road course events during the year for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. The first happened on June 20th at the opposite end of the country and ended with a 4-time champ in Victory Lane.
It is Casey Kane and Jimmy Johnson leading them down to the green flag. 110 laps and we're underway.
This is going to get fun in a few laps watching the 48 and the 47.
I cannot get away from this 48.
Marcos Ambrose, great stop.
Boy, it's going to be close in the 48. I think it's going to do it. And there he goes. Oh, maybe not. And this is the time of the race where the boys are going to start playing a lot rougher.
The last thing Marcus Ambrose wanted to see, a 2-second lead. Now you got to endure another restart.
Marcus Ambrose has to give up the lead.
Putting us behind the 9, and I don't know why.
You have to maintain speed. That's in the rule book.
For the first time in his career, he's going to win on a road course. Johnson wins the Toyota Save Mark 350 at Sonoma.
And that certainly was a big day back at Sonoma. Jimmy Johnson's first road course win in a Sprint Cup car. Jimmy, what did that win do maybe for your confidence and this team's confidence as we approach another road course?
You know, coming into this race, we had a lot of confidence that came from that. Very proud of what I did in Sonoma, what the team did. It was an awesome weekend for us. But we showed up here with all of that, thinking we were going to be fast and it was going to be great, and then we struggled. So we've fortunately had enough to build on and believed in what we were doing with the cars enough to find our way through practice and get much closer, put up a great qualifying lap. So I think in the end we're going to be very competitive today, but we didn't start off as we had hoped. So confidence is good for something, but not for everything. You still need to have the car right in order to get the job done.
And your teammate Jeff Gordon actually participated in the tire test in June, so everybody thought, oh, Hendrick Motorsports, class of the field. That hasn't been the case. What have you guys struggled with?
And we've been joking with Stevie and Jeff that they're not allowed to tire test any longer, but in their defense, they weren't on the exact tire combination that they wanted to come back with. And I know that the 47 car was here for that tire test as well and had the same issues with being very loose like we did, on top of a lot of cars seem to be pretty loose. But the guys that have it right, man, they're considerably faster than anyone else. So we know there's a way to do it. Hopefully we've made the right adjustments over the last couple of days and we've got it right.
All right, Jimmy Johnson will roll off ninth today. Alan?
All right, Jamie, thanks. Now, that Sonoma win for Johnson came, as you saw, at the expense of Marcus Ambrose. The Australian with the road racing background has 3 straight wins at this track in the Nationwide Series, including yesterday when he led 60 of 82 laps. But about that first Sprint Cup win, he starts 11th today, Vince.
Marcus Ambrose called yesterday's Nationwide Series victory the most satisfying he's ever had. What would a victory today mean then of following that up?
I had to correct my statement from yesterday if that's the case. You know, it means a lot to win at this level. It's hard to win these NASCAR races. Yesterday was a really proud day for all of us here at JTG Doherty, and it's just a good send-off. You know, I'm not going to be driving for him next year. I don't know what I'm going to be doing quite yet for 2011, but yeah, just really excited to finish things off right to the end of 2010, and we've got a lot of work to do today. It's going to be a tough day, but we feel good about our chances, and hopefully we have a good strategy and the race comes our way.
And you're going to be our in-race reporter today.
I heard that. I'm really excited about that. And if you've got any questions out there, log on to ESPN.com, and the keyword is Ask the Driver. So you can ask me anything you like. You may not get the answer you like, but I'll give it a shot.
Very nice. Ambrose getting ready to go from the 11th starting spot today. Let's talk pressure. Yeah. Given that he has so much more road racing experience than oval track experience, meaning the 2 road races a year are his best chances to win. How much pressure is he putting on himself for this race?
He's put immense pressure on himself for this race. And let's be very clear. Marcus Ambrose is a tremendous road racer. He's not just a road racer. This guy's really ultra talented.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So he puts a lot of pressure on himself. He knows that when he comes to this racetrack, he's going to be the guy to beat. You've heard all of these other guys talking about him, so that adds to that. And I've tried to get him to relax, and I tell him, just let it come to you. Let the game come to you. Do what you do best. But he wants to win this race so bad, and after what happened in Sonoma, it's even added more pressure to him. So there's a pressure cooker.
Brad, part owner of Marcus Ambrose's car. Let's talk about Jimmy Johnson. The big Pocono wreck that Kurt Busch and Elliott Sadler had began by a Jimmy Johnson bump draft on Kurt Busch. Both Johnson and Busch asked about it during their press conferences here Friday.
It was a racing incident, and I hate that over the last year or two there have been a lot of those racing incidents, and he certainly has been on the losing end of that situation. And it is nothing intentional, nothing I have against him. He and I joked on the phone Monday that we have these magnets we can't get rid of, and I'm going to just stay away from him as much as I can.
I've been wrecked by Johnson quite a bit in the last couple seasons, the last 13 months. And whether it was racing, whether it was just a small bump that he didn't intend to mean what he did. You know, he didn't intentionally try to wreck us at Pocono, but it ended up that way. So there might be some of that coming from my side of it.
All right, so what to make of all this?
Well, I mean, they're obviously very, very good drivers. They find themselves running bumper to bumper all the time because they got fast cars. That Penske Dodge is a rocket ship, and so is Johnson Chevrolet. You know, so they're bumper to bumper all the time. Now, the incident at Pocono, in my mind, that was just a classic case of bump drafting going bad. I mean, he got him in the back of him, trying to knock him past the rest of the cars, Alan, and he got him knocked sideways, and another crash happened. So I can understand how this is not intentional. But, Brad, you got a different opinion.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. see, Kurt Busch has been that one guy all year who's kind of been calling out that 48 and throwing shots across the bow at that 48. And when this happens, he's using it as an opportunity to create a little bit of psychological warfare with Jimmy Johnson. When they get into the chase, and if he can get close enough throughout the series, when Jimmy Johnson looks up and sees that blue deuce coming, you know what? He's going to start thinking, boys. He's going to start thinking, what's going to happen when he gets to my bumper? How can I race this guy? How should I race this guy? And that might be an advantage for Kurt Busch. I like what Kurt's doing.
If you kind of excuse me, I didn't mean it.
Yeah, man.
Well, Jimmy starts ninth today. Kurt starts fifth. Driver introductions underway. Drivers, as always, here taking around the course so all the fans can get a look at their favorites before they buckle in and tackle 90 laps on this tricky 7-turn track. NASCAR's Race to the Chase continues today at Watkins Glen. 5 races to go until the field for the chase for the Sprint Cup is set. Kevin Harvick leads the standings. In fact, all 3 how to return his team to the front of the pack. Now the 6-time champion owner spends his weekends trying to keep them there.
I think the anticipation of the race, the start of the race, everything evolved around it. I still get excited. Once I get up in the morning, I try to meet with some of my guys. I'll pick 1 or 2 of them and talk to them. Usually I'll have several appearances. Just do that routine, then I'll go to the driver's meeting. Looks like the rain, it might hold off at least for half of it. How's that baby doing, buddy? Doing good, man. Getting good. Good. How are they? How's this thing run down the straightaway? That's pretty good. I think we're going to be good today. We just got to be patient way back here. I'm going to watch it right up here today. Hard to see here. Yeah. We'll win the race. Yeah, I'll take a bottle of water, cold water.
Yeah, I got you, boss. Since you're riding with me, you're going to hold me up. You might as well go ahead and win the race. 10-4. Yep, you got me. Have a good day out there, guys. Be solid in the pit. Let's go out there and win this race. Got me, Kevin.
Paul, Richard.
And have a good day out there, buddy. Let's go out here and win this race.
Paul, thank you.
How close to that rain, you?
I mean, just the tail end of it, Richard. We're really waiting on this little rain.
Engines have fired on pit road here at Pocono Raceway after about a 35-minute delay where green flag is in the air.
Get the wall. Steering wheel still straight. We're coming this time. Just don't give up much on the track here, Gil. Let's see what it fits.
Hey, Richard, you got a stopwatch with you?
Yeah, I have, Jeff.
Give me the work on turn 1. Just pick a point, enter in 1 and exit in 1, and give me a few laps here. I just want to look for something here. I just want to know my time.
Jeff, this is the first time the sun's been out. You're actually a little better than cars with this sun out.
Pray for sun.
Kurt's into the wall. Boyer's in it as well.
Man, look at this car.
Oh, man, further back, Elliott Sadler. And look at this. Gosh. Engine is out of this thing.
Oh, my gosh.
Who wrecked?
The 19 knocked the engine completely out of it.
Well, if we didn't have all the safety stuff we got in these cars today, it'd been bad. Some of them guys just took fuel it.
Like 4 of them.
16, 99, or 5 will probably end up winning the race.
Greg Biffle is going to bring it home and win here at Pocono.
David, you guys done a hell of a job there. Good job, Gil, pit crew. It's a good job. I know it ain't what we need, but you did all you could with the tore-up race car there. Good job there, Jeff. You guys had a good car. Todd, pit crew, all you guys done a good job. We'll get them next week.
Well, Richard Childress has some pretty big numbers as a team owner. 91 Sprint Cup wins, 6 championships, and trying for a 7th, which would place him 2nd on the all-time list. Let's hear from the current championship leader, Childress driver Kevin Harvick, who starts 20th today, Dave.
Well, that's one of the things that I want to talk to him about. He's got the championship lead. He loves road racing. He's been doing it since he was 6. But you're starting 20th, Kevin. How difficult?
Oh, it's not going to be easy for sure, but I put us in this position and just by missing one corner yesterday in qualifying. So car's been running really good. We've started back here before, though. You got to stay out of trouble. That's the main thing, and you got to have the strategy fall your way. And I think, you know, just the speed of the car will be able to do most of the work, but you got to have the rest of it go your way, regardless of whether you're starting here or you're starting first.
Now, yesterday you also ended up in the back of the pack, but raced your way to third. So, any benefit to yesterday?
Well, yesterday was a bad day from the driver's standpoint. I pretty much did just about everything you could do wrong, and we were lucky enough to have a good car and be able to capitalize on it yesterday. Still pretty disappointed with yesterday, just for the fact that, you know, I felt we could have at least raced with the 47, but we never even gave ourselves a chance. So hopefully we can just be consistent and make up spots early in the race here, and we'll go from there.
How do they say it, Alan? Out with the bad, in with the good, hopefully, for Kevin today.
There you go. Kevin Harvick getting ready to go from 20th starting spot. Now, Rusty, Brad, you're both team owners like Richard Childress. Ask you the same question like I asked you about Jeff Gordon. How do you balance having your input into what's going on against letting the people you've hired to drive and prepare the cars do their thing?
It's a tough job, it really is. But if we had to build the perfect template how to do that, guys, I think I'd go right to Richard Childress, because it looks like to me he's got it down pat. I mean, this is the type of guy that when he speaks, everybody listens. And the one thing I like about him, he supports all his teams pretty equal. I heard him on that piece right there. He told every driver before the race started, and when the race was over, he congratulated every single team. And he stands up not on any particular pit box. He stands high above on different types of apparatuses, sometimes on top of trucks, sometimes on tops of buildings, so we can look at all of his teams. He does a fantastic job of managing this team, and I don't think anybody would argue that point.
No, that's exactly right. Richard Childress is he is one of the cornerstones of our sport right now as we look at it. And I admire Richard. I try to take some from his managing style, and what he does very well is he hires very competent people, and he allows them to do their jobs. But what he does best is he offers tremendous support as an owner and as a confidant, and it makes people better. It gets the best out of people. Richard Childress is a tremendous car owner. He's a great owner, and he's a great guy, and all of the people that work for him, they know that.
Well, Kevin Harvick hoping to get another Watkins Glen road course win today for owner Richard Childress. He and the rest of the drivers waiting, standing by as we get closer to the opening ceremony and the green flag for today's race. The famed road course in Watkins Glen, where the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series goes racing on a beautiful August afternoon. 43 drivers slugging it out over 90 laps on what some refer to as the super speedway of road courses. Back to the grid now. Juan Pablo Montoya starts third, Mike.
And whenever we're at a road course, you've got to expect that this guy is a favorite. Juan, a lot of people looking at you as one of the guys to beat today. How would you assess your chances of getting this car to victory lane?
This Target Chevy is always good in road courses. Actually, it's the best qualifying I had. I always struggle in qualifying, so I think having track position is going to help us a little bit. So we'll see. You know, I think the chances are pretty good.
And Jamie, Juan trying to duplicate the performance that put him in victory lane back in 2007 out in Sonoma.
And Greg Biffle turned some doubters into believers after winning at Pocono. You continue to do the same thing here. You're not a road courser, so to speak, yet you've been fastest in both practice sessions. What's your outlook for today?
Well, outlook's really good. 3 and 4 Fusion cars running really fast, and you know, now it's up to me. They've given me a car I can win with today. I just got to keep it on the racetrack and keep the brakes and everything on it, and you know, we'll see what happens. But a little conservative qualifying. I wish we'd have been up there a little bit closer to the front, but 7th, not bad, and just, you know, I'm really excited about today. It's a good weather's good, and I like this racetrack.
This new tire they brought here hasn't been very good for many drivers, yet it seems to play right into your hands. How is this tire different?
Well, I can't tell a lot of difference. You know, the tire has a little bit more grip off the corner on the throttle, so it seems like it turns about the same, and it doesn't fall off as much as the other tire did. So I think Goodyear brought a better tire, and I got to say something about what the racetrack's done to this place. A bunch of safety improvements, a bunch of spots. They spent a great deal of time and money fixing this racetrack, and it's beautiful.
All right, Greg Biffle looking for his first win on a road course in the Cup Series. Alan?
Okay, Jamie, thanks. When you're at a road course, pit strategy and fuel mileage become huge factors. And judging by last year's race, the key moment may happen early. We compare the strategies last year of race winner Tony Stewart and the man who chased him to the checkered flag, Marcus Ambrose. Most of the leaders pit here at lap 19, but Ambrose stays on the racetrack till a little bit later on.
Yeah, he was trying to take advantage and get up front and take track position by staying on the racetrack he thought that he was going to be good enough, get good enough fuel mileage that he could make it last throughout the day.
But by the time Ambrose pitted here under green at lap 30, it put him, lap 30, and then again at lap 43, it put Ambrose back to 30th.
Yeah.
It took him to lap 69 of 90 to get up to second, and he could never catch Stewart and get around him.
Actually did the opposite of what we thought it was going to do. If he'd have went ahead and stayed on sequence, he'd have been closer to Tony Stewart's bumper at the end of that race and gave himself a better chance to win.
Two-tire thing that's decided the races the last couple of weeks. Going to be a factor on the road course today or not?
No, it's not going to be a factor whatsoever. I think the strategy today, Alan, is going to be no tires or 4 tires. You got to remember, folks, you're turning left and right. It's not like last week at Pocono where all the pressure's on the right side tires. It's going to be 4 or none.
Give me one other key to this race for you.
Oh, the number one key, I'm going to give you 2. Don't wheel hop. Don't let the car wheel hop, and you got to stay on the course. If you can pull that off, you got a good chance of running up front.
I think one of the big things that people never talk about is keeping these race cars nice, neat, and square. These guys are so good that if you get your car dinged up, knock the hood in, knock the valence off, do something like that, the arrow gets screwed up on these cars, and you cannot run up front with the good guys. You got to keep your race car nice and neat.
All right, so some of the keys to the race as we get. Was that just
Ernie Irvin?
Ernie Irvin, I saw sitting next to Boris Said. Pretty cool there. And the drivers getting ready to go and awaiting the opening ceremony. Our J-Ski news and notes now. Friday, Richard Petty Motorsports announced they've signed A.J. Allmendinger to a multi-year contract extension. Team says it has more announcements in the works for its 2011 plans. The Atlanta Motor Speedway announced Thursday they would only have 1 Sprint Cup race next year versus the 2 the track has held every year since 1960. A press conference is scheduled at Kentucky Motor Speedway this Tuesday, where it's expected to announce that's where the Atlanta race is moving. And sources told ESPN.com this weekend the chase for the Sprint Cup will begin at Chicagoland Speedway in 2011 instead of New Hampshire Motor Speedway. NASCAR expected to make a full schedule announcement in the near future. Getting ready to go racing at Watkins Glen. The opening ceremony is next. ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series comes to you today from Watkins Glen, New York. Our telecast presented by GoDaddy.com. Watkins Glen, a place whose record books are filled with some of the great names in the history of auto racing. And today, one more name will join the list of winners at the Glen. This is the second NASCAR Sprint Cup race run at the Glen on August 8th. The last one, 1993. It was won by Mark Martin. He started on the pole that day, part of a 3-year stretch where he won the pole and the race. Today, Mark starts 24th, open for a little more Watkins Glen magic. Time for today's opening ceremony. Let's go trackside.
Here with today's invocation, Reverend Dave Fife from Bentley Creek Wesleyan Church.
Let's pray. Lord God, we thank you for another day of racing here at Watkins Glen International. We thank you, Lord, for the sponsors and the staff and the armed forces who make this day possible. And now, Lord, we ask your blessing upon this year's running of the hell of a good sour cream dips at the Glen. Grant us a safe race and remind us that all good things come from you. Amen.
And now here with today's national anthem, please give a warm welcome to national recording artist Bo Bice.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the
Bo Bice and today's flyover performed by the Massachusetts Air National Guard F-15s from the 104th Fighter Wing, Barnes Air National Guard Base, Westfield, Massachusetts.
And so the drivers begin to climb aboard and buckle in, and we're just a few minutes away from the command to start engines and get today's race underway. Now, someone to keep an eye on, Clint Boyer. He's the 12th place driver, the bubble man in the race to the chase, and he starts in 34th position. Kansas Clint needs to avoid trouble and find a way towards the front to have a good big picture day, and he can do it. Started 38th and finished 9th last year. The engines fire at Watkins Glen next.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at